With Jesus' joy, please let's welcome our brother to the podium as he brings us the word of liberation this morning. Let's give God a clap offering. Hallelujah. Please let me say that after his talk, and as he's speaking, if you have questions, we'll take a few questions for clarifications, and then we'll allow him to go. Praise the Lord.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Good morning, church. Yes, it's a privilege for me to be here, to stand before the people of God and share this, I call it word of knowledge. By the grace of God, I was part of the initial presidential committee on fiscal reforms and tax, headed by Professor Taiwo Idele. And then when we finished that, I was also part of what we call the 12 wise men who actually sat down to draft the laws. So whatever happens with those laws, I take full responsibility because I was part of those who wrote the laws. So I'm just saying that up front. So we'll go into it now, briefly, especially as it affects individuals and small businesses. But before we do that, please let us pray. Father, I thank you. I thank you for this opportunity to stand before your people and share this word of knowledge. I pray, Almighty, that you will guide my words so that we have the desired impact. And I pray that you open the ears of understanding of your people so that they will listen and understand and ask the right questions to the glory of God. In Jesus' mighty name, I have prayed. Amen. Okay, so the table of contents, briefly, I think I've shared with, okay, so we can move to the next slide, table of contents. So what we're going to be talking about this morning quickly, what is tax, what are the scriptural foundation, examples from the Bible, Nigerian Tax Reforms Act, why the reforms are important, themes in the new laws, etc., etc. You forgive me, my presentation will sound a bit academic, but we have the summary. Next slide. I have the summary underneath of everything. So what is tax? Everybody have been talking about tax. What is tax? I want to take the most common definition of tax that we can all find in the Oxford Dictionary. The Oxford Dictionary says tax is a compulsory contribution to state revenue levied by the government on workers' income, business profits, or added to the cost of some goods, services, and transactions. So this is Oxford Dictionary. So this is not something that is coined by some people. It's not a Nigerian thing. This is Oxford Dictionary. So in summary, tax is a compulsory payment imposed by government on income of individuals and businesses without a direct benefit to the taxpayer. That's the definition. Without a direct benefit to the taxpayer to fund public expenditure and government activities. So next slide. What are the scriptural foundation? The scripture tells us, Matthew 22:21, says, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's. That is Christian mandate. Romans 13:6-7. Romans 13:6-7 says, pay your taxes because the authorities are God's servants. That's their civic duty. Luke 12 to 13 says, do not collect more than what is required. That is honesty in tax dealings. Deuteronomy 26:12 says, taxes and tithes should support the vulnerable. That is social welfare. Luke 12:48, it says, from everyone who has given much, much will be demanded. It means you have more money, you pay more tax. That's proportionality. Then Matthew 17:27 says, pay your tax even when you disagree with the government's use of the funds. It's in the Bible. Matthew 17:27. So that means we should submit on this issue of taxation. I had to bring the scriptural foundation so that we all understand as children of God that this issue of taxes has a foundation in the scriptures, in fact, in all religion. So my final word on this is that compliance is a testimony of a believer's integrity in a society that often prizes shortcuts over righteousness. 2 Corinthians 8:21. It says, for we are taking pains to do what is right, not only in the eyes of the Lord, but also in the eyes of man. So when you pay your taxes accurately, you calculate accurately, you do everything the way it has been said it should be done, you are not only doing it in the eyes of man, you are doing it in the eyes of God. So let's move on quickly. We have, next slide, we have different examples from the Bible. I've already told you about render unto Caesar. We all know the story. There's a miracle of the temple tax, Matthew 17:24-27. When there was the issue of the church tax to be paid, and they asked Jesus Christ, are you exempt from paying tax in your father's house? And then Jesus, to avoid giving offense, told Peter to catch a fish, and inside the mouth was a 4 drachma, a coin. You know, exactly enough to pay the tax for both Jesus and Peter. So even Jesus paid what? Tax. Old Testament, we have that there. Exodus 30:11-16. We have that example, atonement money, where God said a flat rate of a shekel should be paid for every adult above 20 years old. Exodus 30:11-16. It's there in the Bible. Then, of course, we have the Joseph and the grain tax, Genesis 41:34, where during the 7 years of plenty in Egypt, Joseph instituted a 20% tax on the harvest to store food for the coming famine. And then the state collected all this tax, saved the money, and then when the famine came, that was what they used for the next 7 years. So we have all these examples in the Bible. Now, let's come to Nigeria. So on June 26 last year, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed the tax reform bills into the law. Now, what did these tax reform bills do? What they did was that they put all the various taxes that we have had in Nigeria into one single book, or let me say 2 books. One book for the tax itself, then one book for the operation of the tax. So I didn't want to go into talking about the foundation of that and how it affected the Bible. We all know the Bible was written by different people, isn't it? It was now consolidated into one book, isn't it? Over centuries. What we've done with the tax reform is to pick the various existing laws and now put all of them together in one book. And the source of the controversy that we've been having in Nigeria is that most people are not even aware of all those various laws before now. They think these current tax laws was we just woke up one day and decided to write a new tax law. No. I can assure you, SARS and MARS, that 95% of what is in the new tax laws were carried over from existing laws. 95%. They've existed since before now. Stamp duty that has been causing a lot of confusion, 50 naira, debit 50 naira, is a law of 1938. 1938, the Stamp Duties Act. So there's nothing new. We just put everything into one book for ease of reference. Next slide. So, and these are the 4 tax acts: Nigerian Tax Act, Nigerian Tax Administration Act, Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Act, and the Joint Revenue Board. So the first one is the one that we put all the tax together, the various tax laws. The second one is how to administer them for the tax authority and for people. Then the next one is Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Act. That one gave the FRS, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, renamed it into Nigerian Revenue Service and gave them more powers. Then the Joint Revenue Board, that one brought in the tax ombud, so that when tax authority harass you, you have somebody to report them to. Currently in Nigeria, anybody who has been paying tax, you know you have issues sometimes with the tax authorities, and there's nobody to complain to, except to go to court. Now there's somebody you can actually complain to without going to court. So that one is what is in the new Joint Revenue Board Establishment Act. So quickly, why were the tax reforms even necessary in the first instance? The fact of the matter is that we may all forget, but Nigeria before May 2023, we had a trade deficit and negative balance of payments. There were multiple FX windows. We all know we had official rates, we had black market rates, we have all kinds of rates. We had almost $7 billion in unmet demand from FX, from official sources. Our net external reserve was less than $4 billion. You know FX on Naira card. Our tax to GDP ratio was less than 10%. And Nigeria was using 97% of total revenue to service debts. 97%. Of course, there was negative, there was product scarcity, unsustainable subsidy of fuel, negative fact flow, we had salary arrears, we had high budget deficits, low capex spend. Over 30 trillion was printed, you know, as ways and means. Nigeria was printing money to spend because all revenue has gone to servicing debts. So we now started printing our own money so we can spend it. There was declining oil and gas production, unfriendly market policies, high and rising inflation, rising poverty, weak policy coordination, inefficient public and financial management. But today, with the tax reforms and the other reforms, monetary policy reforms brought about by government, today, Nigeria has a trade surplus in terms of balance of payments. Even with the famous America, we have a trade surplus with them now. We have a unified official exchange rate, and we have reduced the gap between the parallel market and the official market. I think we all know this. You know, the dollar has refused to go up like before. Before it was every week. You know, now it's stable for almost a year now, and the gap now is very small. It is not a mistake. It's a deliberate policy of government. So FX Forward, they've cleared everything. We now have external reserve of over 23 billion. So tax to GDP ratio has increased. Now, the amount of money we are using to service the debt inherited, plus the new one that they're adding, instead of 95%, now it's just 60%. So it's coming down. So wasteful subsidy fuel has been eliminated. Did you notice that for the first time in a long time, there was no fuel scarcity in December? When was the last time we had no fuel scarcity in December and people are traveling? It's been a while. At my own memory, we were calculating maybe over 12 years ago. But now, last year, but you see, it just passed. We didn't notice. Yes, why should we even bother? We expect there should not be fuel scarcity, isn't it? But if it has become part of our reality and then it stops, I think we need to acknowledge it. So declining budget deficits, we have paid down on the ways and means. rising crude oil and gas production, upgrades, so many things. But everything has not been sorted out. We still have issues. There is still high poverty among the people. There is still the issue of decent job opportunities. Then there's still the issue of policy coordination and communication. We are all here when the House of Representatives said the law will pass, it's not what was printed, isn't it? So there's still that issue of coordination. It's not gone. And then the interest rates are still high, but it's moderating. However, anybody who has done economics will tell us that when you do reforms or introduce policy, where it first starts to show is in the area of the macro, that is in the large numbers. Then the next, you start seeing it from company performances. Then company performances is what now translates to individuals, how it affects our lives. And you know why? It is companies that produce goods. If they reduce the cost of their goods, what happens to us? The cost of purchasing goes down, isn't it? Dangote is doing refinery now. He has brought down the price of fuel. What has happened to the price of fuel? It went down. If companies start to employ more people, what happens to employment? Employment starts to become better. Exactly. Because all over the world, government is not the top employer of labor. It is always private companies. So what affects the companies is what will now translate to affecting the individuals. So do your policy, let it affect companies, and then companies' operation will now affect individuals. So, and we can see from the company operations, things are getting better for them. I saw PZ made an announcement in December. They were about to exit Nigeria. Then they said, based on what they are seeing now, we are not going again. So what has happened? They've seen that things are beginning to get better at company level. Now, if PZ had gone, do you know how many people would have lost their jobs? Now that PZ is staying, they are going to be reinvesting. Do you know how many people will now get new jobs? So when government policy starts, I don't blame us. We want instant action, instant results in our personal lives. But the fact is that that's not how it works. It starts with getting the policy right. It goes to the companies, then it goes to the individuals. So I won't bother you with if we didn't do the reforms, where we will be. That's why I just showed it in red. So let's go on. So in these new tax laws, coming to it now, what are the things that we try to do? We had pillars. Number one pillar, it must be progressive. So whatever was wrong in all the former laws, we adjusted it slightly. So the rich must pay more. In these new tax laws, we said people who are not compliant. I have been chairman Internal Revenue Service for more than 7 years. And I know one of the challenges we face is that people who pay taxes, they complain that my neighbor is not paying. What are you doing to my neighbor that is not paying? I am compliant, I'm a Christian. He's not a Christian, he's not paying, and he gets away with it. It's unfair. So these new tax laws punishes bad behavior. Yes. Number 3, it is pro-poor. Number 4, it protects the right of the taxpayer. Number 5, it creates a level playing field and equity for all. And number 6, it rewards good behavior. So who is supposed to pay tax in Nigeria? The person who pays tax is anybody who carries out an economic activity. That means you are doing a business, you are earning an income. Students, minors, retirees, the unemployed. If you are not currently engaged in any economic activity generating an income for you, you are not a taxable person. Please, let me take that again. Students, minors, retired people, retirees, the unemployed, etc. If you are not currently engaged in any economic activity, you are not a taxable person. Non-residents, people who don't live here, they are only taxed if they have an economic interest in Nigeria, do business in Nigeria, or earn an income or gain an income in Nigeria. So it means if I have a brother abroad and sends money to me here, or he has an account here, he has paid his taxes there, he's not due to pay tax here again, except if he has a property here and is collecting rent from people. You know, that's a commercial business, isn't it? He will pay tax on that business, but not on his remittances. So in everything I've done today in these slides, I'll put the section of the law there. So for some of us who are very interested, you can actually go into the law and see where it is written. So what is taxed? I've mentioned that earlier. What we tax are income earned by individuals who are residents in Nigeria from all sources, either inside or outside Nigeria. So your bank account, the balance in your bank account, or your turnover, or your transfer, they are not taxable. The balance in your bank account is not taxable. The turnover on your account is not taxable. Your transfer is not taxable. And I will go into, I know people will ask me questions about stamp duty, VAT 7.5. Well, we will get there. Yes, we'll get there. So those are the things that are taxed, your income. So if you are not earning an income, you are not going to be taxed. Now, what is the rate of tax for individuals? So the rate of tax for individuals, whether it's payee, direct assessment, or whatever, is as shown above. Next slide. Yes. So the first 800,000 is 0%. The next 2.2, 15%, next 18%, 21%. Then the people who are earning above 50 million is 25%. But I'm going to show you something now. Please note one thing. The law, Nigerian Tax Act, Section 162, says specifically anybody earning minimum wage is exempt from tax. So once you're earning minimum wage, you're exempt from tax. But for those people who are due on tax, who have to pay tax, liable to tax, these are the rates. Now, this is the interesting part. All of us will connect to this. So we have annual gross pay, deductions, the old payee, the former system, the new system. From the former system, we can see the difference. If you are earning 840,000 under the old payee system, you will pay tax of 32,528. Now you will pay 0. So saving you 32,000. If you're earning 1.2 million, under the old system, you will pay 42,000, you pay 63,000 in tax. Under the new system, you pay 42, saving you 21,600. And it goes down like that, up to if you are earning 18 million a year. Under the old system, you pay a tax of 2.8 million, 2.854. Under the new system, you pay a tax of 2.832, saving 22,000. The bottom line is this. From this table, you can see that, I don't know, are there civil servants who are earning above 18 million a year? Civil servants. Very few, isn't it? Very few. At least 98% of civil servants are earning below 18 million a year. It means 98% of civil servants will have their taxes reduced. 98%. And the people who have retired are not even liable to. Is this good or what? Now, let us see those last two numbers in red. If you are earning above 20 million, 30 million, 60 million. And you'll be wondering whether people are earning this salary. Yes, people are earning it. In the oil and gas. Yes. In the oil and gas. We call it, don't let me mention the name. So that's why they're always, so in the oil and gas industry, people are earning this. I know people are earning 100 million a year, yes. Those people will pay tax. Now, I don't know, it's not so clear, but if you could see it, you'll see that the red markers, the people who will pay higher tax, if you add these two together, if you sum all the other ones, the two groups of people who will pay higher tax, they have covered for the losses of all the rest of us. So government is not losing any revenue. So we just took from the low-income earners, small, and then we added it to the high-income earners. To whom much is given, so income tax exemptions, sections 162. Who are the people? We added some people to this list. So I've already mentioned pension and gratuity. You are not exempt, you are not expected to pay tax. Emoluments of people serving as other rank or personnel in the military, serving in combat zones. Those people are doing a wonderful job. We just added it. If you are fighting for Nigeria, fighting insurgencies, you all know the problem they have. We are now taking tax from them again when they are already sacrificed. Is that fair? So we exempted them. Then, of course, income of persons, that's the minimum wage. The military officers, also, their bosses. We had recently of a brigadier general that was kidnapped, isn't it? We exempted them. So rank and file, separate. Military officers, separate. And of course, this has been there from before now. We just repeated it. Churches, mosques, religious establishments, their tithes and their offerings, and NGO revenue remain tax exempt. So churches, mosques, all religious establishments, the tithes, the offerings, and NGO revenue remain tax exempt. However, the salaries of staff of these establishments are subject to tax, the same tax under the tax bands. So, if pastor is being paid a salary, that salary is subject to tax. In fact, when I was in Ondo State as chairman, there was a particular year that we were giving best taxpayers, individuals. Redeemed Christian Church of God got one of the awards because they pay the taxes of all their staff. And then when the numbers added up, we realized that they were a significant taxpayer in Ondo State. And we gave them an award. I remember Pastor Adeboye wrote to me personally, "Now thank you for the recognition, blah, blah, blah. You are the first state in the country that we recognize the Redeemed Christian Church of God." It's not me. It's not personal. It's what the data showed. So they pay the taxes of their pastors. Gifts are exempted. So, but then the question is, what's a gift? What's a gift? What do you classify as gifts? A gift has been defined. We defined it newly. This is new. It was not there before. We said a gift is defined as an asset, that you did not pay any consideration for, that you acquired without paying any consideration. Cash is an asset, isn't it? Yes. So if you are giving cash and there was no exchange of value, that means that's a gift. It means if daddy decides to buy mommy a brand new car, that is a gift. Because there is no exchange of value. If you give cash to the needy, that is a gift. Because we are not expecting anything back from them. Daddy, you've been married to mommy for so many years. Are you expecting anything again if you give her a car? No, now. Not what will change. Just more love. Uh-huh. However, if you go to a party and the musician, you start down, JJ, and the musician starts to call your name and praise you. And because he's praising you, you stand up, your hair swell. You now go and start spraying the musician. Is that a gift or an income? It's an income, because if that musician did not praise you, you know you won't stand up. So you are you have gotten some value, intrinsic value from that praise, recognition, and you want to show. Because this issue came up in one of the places I went to. They say, if I spray musician money, Nigerians, every scenario, they've come up with this. So that's the definition of gifts. Once there's no exchange of value, that means I'm giving you money without expecting anything back in return. My brother asked me for money, I sent to him. Somebody asked me for money, I sent to him. There's no exchange of value. But once there's an exchange of value, whether intrinsic or obvious, it is no longer a gift. It can be classified as an income. So, and then we have the whole list of things that have been exempted from tax. I've spoken to you about the payee, pension contribution is part of the relief for individuals, national health insurance scheme, housing fund contributions, interest on loan. If you buy a house and you took a loan from a bank, that interest is exempted. Life insurance, rent relief, 20% of your annual rent up to 500,000 naira is exempt. Your pension and gratuity is exempt. Under the capital gains tax, if you sell your house, owner-occupier house, you won't pay capital gains tax. Your personal effect, if you sell it up to 5 million, you won't pay capital gains tax. If you sell 2 private vehicles in a year, you won't pay capital gains tax. In the stock market, if you sell shares below 150 million in a year, or made gains up to 10 million, you will not pay capital gains tax. Gains on shares above. So if you now have any gains on your shares above the exemption threshold, and you now reinvested those gains, you still will not pay. That means this threshold of 150 million, we have some rich people here. When I was coming in, I said, no, this is So, for those people who sell shares above 150 million, and they say, why am I not exempted? No, if you reinvest those gains, you still will not pay. So, and then of course, pension funds, charities, religious organizations, like I said before. I'm not sure whether anybody was aware of sometime in December when there was this raging controversy over capital gains tax in the media. And people were saying, they've increased the rate from 10% to 30%. Then, there was so much negativity thrown into the air. The capital gains, the stock market of Nigeria lost almost 100 billion in 1 week. Yes. It almost crashed because of what people were saying. Our tongues are powerful. Because everybody was saying, no, from 10% to 30%. By the time First of all, they started meeting them. The Minister of Finance came. No, this is what it means. This is what it means. They started explaining all these things. They were like, we didn't know. What we had was that everything is now. And then what happened to the stock market between December and now? They've broken records. It went back up. More people have invested. The thing, we are now at a level where we have never been before in the history of Nigeria. Has the law been changed? No. But what people say can actually affect the outcome of lives and businesses. If those things are negative, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If somebody starts saying, you are bad, you are bad, you are bad, very soon the person will come bad. Meanwhile, the person is not necessarily bad. It's just painting you as being bad. So that stock market is a good example crashed in 1 week. Nigeria has never lost that amount of money before, apart from maybe 2018 when we had the general crash. No, 2008, 2007. It almost crashed because of what people were saying about the tax laws. And the minute they were explained to, it just took off. So we have to be careful, not only about the tax laws, but about what we say about people. So, and then the exemption continues. Small companies, if you are doing a turnover of not more than 100 million and a total fixed asset of 250 million, you pay tax on your capital, on your company's income tax. Before, it was 25 million. We increased it to 100 million so that more people will be affected. So startups are exempt from paying tax. Then compensation relief if you employ more workers or increase the salary of your workers or give wage award to your workers or provide transport subsidies for low-income workers, we will give you 50% relief of those money you have used to pay low-income earners. So if a company now decides today, I want to increase the salary of my staff, those increases in salary of your staff, government will take 50% of it and deduct it from your tax. Because government wants the companies to do what? Increase the salary of staff. So we wrote it there. Then of course, employment, then tax holiday for the first 5 years. If you are doing agric business, crop production, livestock, dairy, etc., for the first 5 years, you will not pay any tax. For those in the agric business, for the next 5 years, once you start, you won't pay. So development levy, small companies are exempt from development levy, withholding tax, same thing. So we have a lot. Now, VAT. This is the big one that people have been talking about, and stamp duty. I put them together on one slide so we can just deal with it once and for all. So basic food items are exempt from VAT. They are 0%. Rent, 0%. Before, landlords are expected to pay withholding tax on the rent they collect. But now we have said no. Education services, all books, education materials for schools, all schools, all your materials, education services, everything you buy, 0%, no VAT. Health and medical services, hospital equipment, drugs, everything, 0 VAT. Pharmaceutical product, 0 VAT. Small companies, of course. Small companies don't even bother charging VAT. Don't bother. All these VAT I'm talking about, don't bother. Ignore it. It's written there. Diesel, petrol, etc. VAT suspended or exempt. Now, for the first time in Nigeria, you can get a VAT refund. Yes. It means if you pay VAT erroneously, or you have input VAT, you have output VAT or no input VAT, and if your input VAT is 0 and your output VAT has a fixed rate, you can claim compensation. It has been written in the law. You know, for those people who travel, I know a lot of you travel here. You know, when you buy things abroad and you want to leave London, you take your VAT to the airport and then they give you back your money. We have introduced the same thing in Nigeria. You can claim your VAT back. So, agricultural product, fertilizers, purchase, lease, or hire of equipment for agric purposes. All agric equipment, 0 VAT. Disability aids for the physically challenged. Hearing aids, braille equipment, wheelchairs, everything, no VAT. Transport. Once the shared passenger road transport, no VAT. Buses, etc. Electric vehicles, exempt. Humanitarian supplies, exempt. Baby products, exempt. Sanitary pads, tampons, exempt. Land and building, exempt. What have we not covered? No, seriously. All of this, exempt. Then we now come to stamp duty. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you about every law is that no law is perfect. just like no individuals are perfect, isn't it? Good. Electronic money transfer below 10,000 attracts stamp duty of 50 naira. Abi? Yes. That has been in the law since forever. However, we will accept one responsibility regarding that law. And the responsibility is this. Not that we should have cancelled it, no, because we met it there, so we can't remove it. But we should have increased the threshold to maybe 50,000. Do you understand? So that way, a lot of transactions will be exempted. And then we are working towards that. I can guarantee you of that. So this 50 naira on 10,000 is just for now. I'm saying it up front, so you know that we are working on it. We met it like that. We added it to the law, but we recognize that the 50 naira on 10,000, when was that law made? A long time ago. What is the rate of dollar then? What's the rate of dollar now? So ordinarily, what we should have done was to increase the threshold, and we will do that. We will do that, I can assure you. So, below 10,000 is exempt. Is anything above 10,000 that is that you pay 50 naira on? So we are working to increase that threshold from 10,000 to a lot higher than that. Salary payments, of course, is exempt from stamp duty. Intrabank transfers, exempt. Transfers of government security or shares, exempt. All documents for the transfer of stocks and shares, exempt. Now, there was something that came up the last 1 week about stamp duty 7.5 on charges. Good. You know, if you have a fixed deposit, anybody that has a fixed deposit, you know, when you get your interest, they take withholding tax 10%, isn't it? Is it not from your interest? It's from your interest. Did they take from your principal? No. So that stamp duty that everybody is shouting about now, the 5% stamp duty or whatever it is, that people are complaining that they are going to be taking on your transfer. It is on the cost of transfer. The 50 naira stamp duty on different amounts remains. We haven't touched that. We changed two things. Number one, the person who is supposed to pay stamp duty before, the 50 naira, was changed from the receiver to the sender. So somebody was paying before. We just said it should not be the person receiving the money. I'm a petrol station. I'm a supermarket. Then you transfer money to me to pay for my goods and service. Then they remove 50 naira. Hello? I told you it's 10,000 or 20,000. You should pay me my 20,000 full, isn't it? You are the one that should pay the transfer. But that's what has been going on before now. So we said it's the person who is enjoying the service that should pay. And that was the letter that all the banks wrote in December to their customers. That, going forward, we are no longer going to be charging the receiver, we'll be charging the sender. But somebody was being charged all along. So it is not new. It was never new. Somebody has been charged all along. But what we are saying is that it is not the receiver that should be charged. It is the person sending the money, isn't it? So if I'm a business owner, imagine if I'm a business owner, I have a supermarket, and everybody is sending money to me, and they're deducting 50, 50, 50, 50. How much profit will be left? Because all those monies from everybody, I'm the one that will carry it. And that's what has been happening. But now, everybody carry their own burden. I, the business owner, will get my full value for my business. So business owners now will now make more money. And those charges will now be spread above all the people who are patronizing them. Instead of that business owner carrying the load of all the people who have been patronizing them. That's what we did. That's what we did. So, but when people started seeing those things from the bank, they misinterpreted it. And then they say, it's new. But we are used to it. So we just continue. So, VAT. Next slide. Some of the frequently asked questions. They say, where a fee or commission is charged on the service. So they said, is VAT charged on banking service? We said yes. VAT is charged on banking services. VAT applies to commission fees and charges for services rendered by banks and other financial institutions, such as transfer fees, USSD charges, card issuance fees, account maintenance fees, and similar service charges. This has always been the position under the VAT law. It was not introduced by the Nigerian Tax Act. So, the same thing I will answer everybody who has been saying this is new. It is not new. What we have had in Nigeria is that people have not been complying with the law. But with the renewed interest in the laws, more people are aware. People have been paying this before now. Then some people have not even been charging. I know, because I spent 28 years in the bank industry before I came to this. I know some banks that said, because of competition, I will not charge my customers all this tax thing. I will just leave it. I will now go and pay the fine for not charging to government under the table. So their customers will not know that the banks are supposed to charge. It became a competition issue among banks. I don't want my customers to go. So I will not even put the transfer charges or anything. How much is it anyway? I will calculate it back end and go and pay to government. There was a time, a bank I worked with, there were people who were saying they were so notorious. They are always charging. They will just be charging you before you know it. The balance in your account has gone. This and that. I'm not holding brief for that bank, but I know that half of those charges, that bank was complying. But the other banks were not complying for competition purposes. Now, because everybody is aware of the law, all the banks are saying, well, the cat is out of the bag. Let's all of us start charging. But it is not new. It is not. It was not introduced by this government. It has always been there. We just didn't know. So we don't blame ourselves for anything, because one of the things that we set out to do at the committee was that we want the whole of Nigerians to now be aware of taxes and their rights. So it was a deliberate policy. That's why Professor Ideli was going everywhere talking. I go everywhere talking, so we can know. Before now, I know, who has heard of Finance Act? Finance Act. You've heard of Finance Act. We had a Finance Act in 2019. It's about tax. 2020, 2021, 20. How many people knew what was in the Finance Act? They just passed it under the table and it becomes law. And all of us continue with our lives, isn't it? But now, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, a committee was established, and that committee made sure we got everybody engaged. We don't like to join issues with people, but when NLC said they were not consulted, I'm like, am I sleeping? Because I was in the National Assembly for the 5 days of public hearing, both at the Senate and the House of Rep. And TUC came, and they sang songs, more than 20 people. Solidarity forever. Soli. And they made their presentation. And then after, they said they were not consulted. I'm like, maybe I had to ask somebody that, do you remember, I called one of the House of Rep member, sir, on that day they came, they sang song, only yes now. When people see what they are saying, they say, that's politics. I said, okay. So I kept quiet. So sometimes what you read in the papers may not be the reality at all. Now, can we engage and say, you came, you dare not? Try and face NLC or TUC. You will hear the story of your life. So we kept quiet. So at the committee level, we kept absorbing and absorbing and absorbing and absorbing. Professor Taiwo Ideli, well, I think he was frustrated. He lost his cool a couple of days ago. You've all seen the video. Daily Trust, when he was at the ICANN conference, and he said that he has been given, the House of Reps said the new laws are, well, it's not what we passed. Okay, pass your own. They set up their committee. they gazetted the new one, and they sent soft copy to him. And he said, give me printed copy. And they said, wait, we are coming again. I said, why are you coming again? Shebi, you sent me soft copy. Just print the hard copy. Abi, is it not hard copy or soft copy? You just give it to me. And then I go and we start. They said, no, we are coming again. So he was forced to talk to the whole Nigerians that, look, I'm frustrated. I don't know what's going on. Maybe something will change again or something. And then the whole world has carried it. Taiwo Idele said this and that. You know, anything he says becomes controversy. But we have absorbed so much at the committee level, you know, lies, outright lies, things that are just not correct, you know. So the same house that's, anyway, don't let me talk. I don't know who's recording. They don't add my own to the matter. So it's not easy working for your country. It is not. Anybody who thinks it is easy, just take one government appointment like this and then see what even your neighbors will start to tell you in the morning when they see you in the morning. And so does VAT apply to the money I transfer or withdraw? No. VAT is not charged on the amount of money you transferred or withdrawn. It only applies to the service charge or commission imposed by the bank. For example, if a bank charges you 10 naira for a transfer, VAT of 7.5, which is 0.75, will apply to that charge, not the amount being transferred. So we charge VAT on the charges of the bank. We met it like that. It is not new. I've explained to you, some banks were not complying, and some banks were paying on behalf of their customer. I'm still waiting. Maybe a bank will just, tomorrow, you may just have seen some transactions and then some banks, those charges will disappear. Who remembers the day of COT? When we used to have COT? You know, all of a sudden, some banks said, no COT, isn't it? So some banks may just decide that, okay, this charges, how much is this? Okay, don't worry, we'll take it off. We'll pay. We're expecting that. But the law is the law. So tax ID, this has been resolved. They said without tax ID that they will take all the money in your account by January 1st. You know, January 1st has come and gone. I don't know, have they taken any money? Have they stopped money in your account because of tax ID? However, please, let's get our tax ID. Because the law says we should get what? Our tax ID. The website to get it is written here. www.taxidgrb.gov. You can share. So once you go there, put in your NIN, it will give you your tax ID immediately. So write it down somewhere, save it on your phone so you can use it. So then banks, insurance companies, all of them require a tax ID from you going forward. But for everybody that has an NIN, a tax ID has been created for you. Just go to the website, key in your NIN, it will give you your tax ID. I've put it there. Returns. Every individual now is supposed to file an annual return, or a tax return, sorry. So whether you're a taxable person or not. So a taxable person, whether or not you're liable to tax, and a non-resident person, you must file a tax return. Remember, anyone earning below 1 million, though not liable to pay tax because of the exemption, is still a taxable person and must file tax returns. Employers, that is people who have more than 5 staff, you must file return for your staff before January 31st of every year. If you have more than 5 staff. But if you have less than 5 staff, you don't have to file returns for them. But each of those staff must file their own returns. However, if you want to help them, just Kukuma do it for them, isn't it? So instead of burdening your staff. So even though there was no specific mention of the deadline for individuals, they only mentioned deadline for employers, which is 31st of January. But under the old law, the deadline was 31st of March. So for all individuals here, you are expected to file a tax return by the 31st of March. So each of the states of the Federation, they are demonstrating their law now, or your state is about to do their own, and you can be sure that they will put 31st of March in it, so we have to file by 31st of March. So other banks and financial institutions, Okay, this is what I spoke about. Now, a question came in one of the places I went to. They said banks are going to be sending returns on transactions above 25 million for individuals or body corporates, where the cumulative transaction in a month is more than 1 billion. And that they are going to be sending it to EFCC. So a lot of people were afraid. You know, it went viral. People started withdrawing their money from the bank. That bank will be sending my transaction to EFCC. EFCC will come to look. There's nothing like that. Banks has been sending returns to us, tax authority. I met it like that when I got to Ondo State. I left it like that. What we just did was to increase the threshold. They sent to the tax authority. And honestly, between you and me, most of those returns, you can't even use them. They were exempt name. Sometimes there is no name. Sometimes just, you know how banks are, because they want to comply, they will just print and just send, and then you receive, you have received. This thing is not complete. Send this thing. It can take them under 3 months to answer. You that you want to do tax assessment for somebody, we'll be waiting for that. So what we have done now is to now put it properly and say everything must be electronic. You know, but those returns are still coming to tax authority. They are not going to EFCC. They are not going to anybody. It's tax authority. And what are we using it for? For the purpose of assessment when there's a dispute. And I will give you a clear example. Ondo is one of the places that was used as a guinea pig for one of the things that we're going to be doing in Nigeria. So there was one day I got to my office, and there was a guy making noise at the reception. Just one young guy, 28 years old, making noise. They want to charge me 200,000. Why do I have 200,000? I don't. What business am I doing? This is Yoruba people. Say, what is it? I pass. I say, excuse me, young man, I'm the chairman. You are the chairman of thieves. You know, I was so angry. So I just said, you know what? Do you have a tax consultant or somebody? Yes, my brother. I will go and call my brother. Oh, yeah, go and call your brother. Come tomorrow. Bring all your books. And he came the following day. I called my directors, and he brought all the books. The day he came, he wore an Ankara. That Ankara was torn in like 4 places. I could see his singlet, I could see his boxers, and he wore his slippers. So when he walked in, I looked at the station manager who did the assessment and said, why are you wasting time with poor people? I've told you people, let's go after the rich people. I said, okay, no, he must pay. If you get to his shop is big. Okay, we started. And the guys started talking, they showed me, the accountant showed me all the figures and everything. Somebody else told me that, Tolu, wait, you just completed the data warehouse, the sample for the presidential committee. Now let's try this guy. We just put his name and his NIN in the system. The system brought it out that this man had 16 bank accounts, and he did a turnover of 5.8 billion in 1 year. Yes. 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 And then we said, and we showed him. Then the consultant stood up. No, guy can't do it. Say, oh boy, he spoke language. Is this you? My brother. I was okay. Chairman, I'm coming. Let me just use the bathroom. That's how the consultant ran away. He thought we were arresting. This is somebody who was shouting the day before and who came today to make noise in torn dress. His account showed I did turnover of 5.8 billion in 1 year in Akure. What business is in Akure? It's my state. Don't let me. How many transactions? 5.8 billion in 1 year. So I say, Oga, so how far? I say, Oga, make we talk. That is what data can do for you. There are so many of us here, you'll be shocked. I'm not saying the whole of 5.8 billion is profits, but he had a turnover of 5.8 billion. And I'm not asking him what's the source of your money. I'm just saying that do your inflow and expenses come to a chargeable amount. So you'll be shocked that a lot of people who are making noise right now is because they actually don't want to have access to the kind of turnover that they are doing. They have something to hide. And then the rest of us, we all say, yes, it's true. Yes, this tax is, I am a living proof. I have evidence. It's still there. We can print it. Yes, somebody will turn Ankara with slippers. I was already blaming. After that meeting, I was going to give the manager a query. Why are you harassing this? Are these kind of people you should be chasing? Please don't let anybody deceive us. A lot of people are doing so many things that they don't want it to be known. That is why they are opposition to the tax laws. And the system that is coming will make sure you don't have. Remember, sir, if we didn't have that dispute, we won't go and check. So that's another thing very important to note. So all the bank information they are sending. If we don't have a dispute, we won't go and check. How many do we want to check? So it's to resolve a dispute. We now go into details. Let's go and investigate. But if there's no dispute, if they have told that guy to pay this, if he had paid the 200,000, we will not know. At the end of the day, he paid millions. He paid millions. I won't tell you how much. But he paid millions. And he did not even argue. Somebody that was told to come and pay 200,000. And he called me head of armed robber in my own office. Yes. But he paid millions after that with data. So these are the tax returns for corporate entities, moving quickly now. So for small companies, these are all the companies 6 months within your end of year, VAT. All these can also be printed for people who are interested so that they can know. So please, people should note the various times for each return. Licensed and registered tax agents have been introduced in the new laws to help individuals and companies file their returns. Tax clearance certificates. Please note that if you want to get CFO, if you want to get building plan approval, if you want to apply for a contract with government or its agencies, if you want to apply for a firearms license, if you want to apply for import and export license, and application for trade license, people, schools, hospitals, all those people that get trade license from the ministries, you need a tax clearance certificate. So what has been done is that there's no more TCC requirements if you want to access FX from banks. So this one is to remove this barrier from the FX market. So these are the things you need. You need tax clearance certificate for all these things, these 6 items. And now, for the people who refuse to comply. Remember I told you that this tax is to punish bad behavior. So some things have been introduced that were not there before. We call them administrative penalty. So an administrative penalty refers to immediate financial fines imposed directly by the tax authority, on you once you have been found that you did not, you committed an offense. So this is a significant shift towards the comply or pay model, where the government can penalize non-compliance instantly while reserving criminal sanctions for cases that go to court. So if you don't register for TIN, that's the extractor TIN, 50,000 in the first month. If you don't file your returns, 100,000 first month. So if you use unregistered vendors, 5 million flat. If you don't keep your records as a company, 50,000. Individuals, 10,000. Refusing technology access, 1 million first day. Failure to notify when you change your address. That means you change your address, you run away from where you are, move somewhere else, or you open another branch, 100,000. So for virtual asset service providers, crypto, non-compliance, if you don't comply with all the crypto requirements, that one is not even no story. Who are the people doing crypto? These are people who have money. So if you don't comply, crypto, first month, 10 million. Yes. And then each subsequent month, 1 million. So this is newly introduced. We did all this to make sure the rich comply. So definition of small business, whether you are a limited liability company or you are an enterprises, you are covered under the definition of small business. So the Nigerian Tax Administration Act defines small business as any business with a turnover of 100 million or less, and with an asset of 250 million. Now, the Nigerian Tax Act says a small company. So one said small business, one said small company. So small business covers enterprises, all those micro, all of that, good. Small company covers limited liability companies who are doing below that. So both of them enjoy the same exemption. Of course, small companies enjoy, that's small businesses, enterprises, ventures, you enjoy more because you won't pay 4% development levy. You're exempted from withholding tax deduction. Your suppliers, payment suppliers, you're exempted as an enterprise. So, and not like that. But once you're a limited liability company, you are subjected to all of that because you are expected to be more structured than an enterprises and ventures. And then please note one thing. As a small company, what you're exempted from paying is company income tax. You still pay your personal income tax. But as a small business, you are not even paying company income tax. You just pay your personal income tax. Now, tax ombud and tax agents. So this is the new one. So tax ombud are new. It means that if anybody, any tax authority harasses you, even customs, you can report them to the tax ombud. They are setting up their office now. The head as the CEO has been appointed and all of that. They'll soon roll out all across the country. I think Ibadan is one of the places in terms of regional that we've told them, but I don't know what they will do. So they are supposed, that one of their jobs is to review complaints against tax officials and tax authorities and to resolve it through mediation and conciliation. That means the era of tax authority harassing you anyhow is over. It was not like that before in Nigeria. Before in Nigeria, if a tax authority harasses you, who do you go and report to? Nobody. You just go and look for somebody who knows somebody who can beg them on your behalf. Abi? Or they ask you for something or that and then you, But now, officially, there's somebody you can report them to. All of this is to protect the poor and the vulnerable. So you are just not left alone. Nobody to talk to, nobody to speak on your behalf. And then we also introduced a new thing, tax agents. A lot of us here will be thinking, so all these returns now, which one is my own? The law now says, and this is good business for all accountants, lawyers, people who have ANAN, CITN, and all of that. You can get licensed as a tax agent, and you start filing returns for everybody. You can imagine if I'm a member of this church now, money has come. Yes. I just made pastor. I've just registered as a tax agent. So everybody, come to my office. I charge you tax ceremony, maybe 5,000 or something. And then I do filing for everybody here. You comply. For your business and everything in your state. Because the filing is easy. It's 1 page or 2 pages. I have it. I have my own. My app. Do everything, and then key in all the names, print it out. I will go and submit on your behalf. They stamp it received, and I give you your copy. You have complied. So no more fine. If they now do investigation and say how much you find is not enough, that's a separate matter. But that did you file or did you not file? I will make sure you comply. So by the time I do that for everybody here, business don't start. So a lot of young people who are ICANN, they are struggling. CITN, they are struggling. You can imagine the Nigerian population, taxable adults. How many accountants do we have chartered? How many CITN do we have? How many lawyers do we have? They cannot satisfy the whole of Nigerian's population. All of them have been inundated. So this is another business for young people. Be a tax agent. And it's very easy. You can consult me, I will tell you how to do it. For a small fee. So, so now, just to round up, quickly, the Christian perspective, I've been speaking about from Christian perspective since. I've told you about the consolidation, the new administrative bodies, the digital economy, the electronic fiscal systems, the tax rates, the virtual asset service providers, the loss treatments. So for virtual assets now, if you make losses, within the same, losses from digital asset transactions can only be deducted from profits made within the same digital asset business. So the period is relevant, but you can only take it for your profit. So you make loss this year, fine. Next year you make profit, you deduct it, but it must be from the same business. You can't transfer it across two business names. So the impact on individuals, you can see the relief, 800,000 for the low-income earners. And the Christian perspective is very straightforward. Let us support the least among us. A progressive system reflects the biblical principle: to whom much is given, much is required. I mentioned that earlier. So small companies, the exemption threshold, you won't pay 4% levy. Capital gains tax, although it has been increased from 10 to 30%, that is for companies. For small businesses, it's whatever rate you pay as an individual that you pay for capital gains. In any case, you have been exempted from most of those transactions because of the size of the volume of your transactions. So, compliance tip, just ensure that your business is properly classified, either as a limited liability company or a ventures and all of that, so it can be properly exempted. That's why I said you need a tax agent. So this is not something a business person should be worrying himself about. Which one is a small company? Which one is so? I think most tax agents that are coming up in Lagos now, how much are they charging? Maybe 5,000, 10,000 for their fees. They do the filing for you and all that. It's not expensive. But some people are charging up to 20,000, depending on. So we have the VAT and essentials. We look at this from a compassionate lens. The Christian reflection is that lowering the tax burden on basic survival items aligns with the biblical call to care for the poor and the vulnerable. So you can see that zero-rated essentials, basic food, medical products, education materials, and electricity generation, all of these are zero-rated. This applies strictly to the poor. So tax planning and tax evasion. So tax planning is legal, using legitimate deductions, for exemptions. But tax evasion is illegal. This is dishonesty, underreporting income, or falsifying your records. There are accountants in this room, and you know that sometimes the company will have 3 different accounts, isn't it? One for the shareholder, one for the tax authority, and one for, just to hide. It's not, as a Christian, you should not engage in such acts. The Christian standard is simple. Romans 12:17, provide things honest in the sight of all men. So stewardship, it's wise to use legal incentives that have been provided, instead of going to illegal means to evade tax. So practical compliance. You have said review your status, document everything, withholding tax, upgrade your system, and then charitable giving. Please note, in this new tax acts, we expand the deductible donations to include capital donations of up to 10% of your profits. So if a big business makes money and they decide they want to do charity for people, Dangote, MTN, up to 10% of that, before it was 1%. Now up to 10% of your money, you can give it out to the people and we exempt it from tax. Is Is that good or what? Up to 10% now of your profits, give it out. You won't pay tax. Deductible. So, yeah, we spoke about the progressive tax band, biblical principle, proportionality, compassion in consumption tax, to zero rating, all those VAT items. Biblical principle is providing for the needy. You know, let's support a tax system that keeps life-saving food and medicine affordable. This is a form of Christian neighbor love. And of course, you are incentivizing agriculture, you know, and I spoke already about charity. Then transparency in tax administration. And then, finally, checklists. Let's pray for the leaders of the NRS. Then let us comply. Let us document, and let us influence. So, this is my last slide. The heart of a taxpayer. Let us trust in God. We pay our tithes out of fear, not out of fear of the government, but as an act of obedience. Trusting God as our ultimate provider. That's Philippians 4:19. Then, let us pray for governance. All of us as Christians should pray that the increased revenue being generated should be used for the common good with transparency. It is one thing for the tax collector to collect money from all of us. But you know, the tax collector is not the one using the money. We have what we call Accountant General, Commissioner of Finance, Commissioner of Works, Governor, Local Government Chairman, House of Assembly, States, National. Those are the people who do appropriation. When you have collected everything collectible from the people, you now hand it over to, they now spend for the common good. So we need to pray for those people that the common good is what they should spend the tax money on. The tax collector cannot decide where the money he's collecting is being spent. So, like I said before, Matthew 5:16, in the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, sir. I want to believe that you have learned one thing or the other. And very quickly, any question or comment? I'll just take 3 persons or 4 persons, okay? So, Daddy Aogo, Bragos Power, Mommy Akinri Made, and Mommy Bayeroju. Those are the people that we're going to take. So, please give Brother. So you can take the questions and then answer them together. Huh? Okay. Okay. I'd like to do one. Okay.
Your lecture is very instructive and well digested. But you did mention that the military are exempted from paying tax.
Yes.
And when we are talking about the military, we are talking about the Air Force, the Nigerian Army, and the Nigerian Navy. We don't know whether that is extended to the paramilitary, like the police, the custom, the Nigerian prison, and the immigrations. Are they involved? I want to carry good news to my people. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. I can quickly answer that. Well, what the law says is people in combat zones. So police are in combat zone. Military, they're in combat zone. Civil defense, they're in combat zone. But customs, I'm not sure. It can be argued either way. But customs, their primary responsibility is not to go and fight insurgency. The same thing with prison officials. They are to keep the insurgents in the prison. But the people who actually go and fight them are military, air force, sorry, army, air force, navy, and the police. Those are the people who actually go to fight. So what we are saying is that the people who are risking their lives defending us from insurgency, those are the people we are exempting.
Thank you very much, sir, for your
Yes, ma'am.
presentation.
Thank you.
Can you please clarify another rumor that is flying around that it is no longer worth the while for pensioners to reserve some of their entitlements in fixed deposits because the interest being generated, on the interest being generated, a 10% state withdrawal, no, state withholding tax will be deducted from the interest.
Yes.
So
Okay.
how do you now differentiate between a retiree who has a fixed deposit
Okay.
and another individual who is in other employment?
Very good question, man. So we assume that the money for, well, I don't know. I know one or two people who are retirees. I know that that money they are earning as a retiree is not even enough to feed them on a monthly basis. So any retiree that has fixed deposits, it means there's another source of. So, because I don't know of any retiree that your retirement income is so much that you can feed yourself and you still have extra to put. Now, let us assume you do. Withholding tax is not a final tax. Withholding tax is, that's why they call it withholding. You can get what we call credit notes. So, in case you need to do any business and you need to file your tax, you use that credit note in lieu of paying additional tax. So it's not a final tax. It's just withholding it. So and the new law says instead of waiting for the tax authorities to give you what we call withholding tax credit notes, now the bank can give you the receipt they used to pay that money and you can claim it back. So there's nothing like, oh, it's not worth our while. Apart from the issue of maybe there are a few retirees like you, mommy. Maybe you are one of those few who has, I don't know, maybe your retirement income is like this. Maybe you work in oil company, yes. Who work in oil company and their retirement income is, but a regular retiree, I don't see a regular retiree that has so much that, except of course, maybe that is the one covering the other bills. So your own retirement income, you just park it somewhere. But not many people are like that. But if you are one of them, then you can claim those monies back. We call it withholding tax credit notes. So please, still keep your money in the bank if you don't have any use for it. You remember the parable of the talents in the Bible? The person that was given 3 talents, 2 talents, 1 talent. Instead of keeping the money under your pillow, still put it in a bank and something. Thank you.
Thank you for your comprehensive presentation to us. I have a comment or suggestion to you. 3 areas I want to look into. 1, communication.
Sorry?
It seems communication.
Okay.
Yes. People are not carried along all along. So we're having negative comments among the people, especially among the educated people. So they rely on bloggers, content creators. So whatever they say, they believe. Hook, line, and sinker. If you want to explain to them, they say maybe you are one of them. So they won't want to listen to you. So we have to do more on communication. Even the Christians, because I argue with some people on this area, but they will not listen. No, it's not so. So most time, just keep quiet. So I don't know how you are going to go in, especially among the market women, among various people, organizations, to educate them. Maybe, I don't know. Again, how we are going to carry state along, because state will benefit more from this personal income tax, and states are not talking. They kept quiet, leave it for the federal government alone. So states should be carried along so that they know this thing more. They go to market here and there so that they educate them that no, this is the true position of things, not negative side we're hearing from the social media. So again, the ease of connection. How are you going to coordinate the ease? So because from my movements around the country, I can see that in some areas, the north especially enough. In the market there, some of them, you see the market people over there, they have huge sum of money in their purse, in the shop. That's not even to the bank. So some of them carry as small as like 20 million, 30 million under their seat. So I don't know how you are going to bring this into banking sector. It happens in the north, mostly. Among those who are selling beans, what have you, cattle. So I don't know how you are going to carry it, state governments along over there, how to bring them into the banking sector, how they are going to help these people. So that because they are going to get money from there, the state especially. So the personal income tax goes to the state, not the federal. So I don't know, that's just my suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Well, you are absolutely correct on all those points. We have people in December, the amount of money that was withdrawn from the banking sector that people want to keep in their house is unbelievable. Yes, people were so afraid, they went to keep money in their house. Now, I told you about the capital gains tax, how the market collapsed because of rumors. The same thing. People withdrew money. There's money in people's houses all over, you know. So the only reason why they didn't use that money to buy dollar is because they see that dollar is not going up. So there's no point buying any dollar. Let me keep my money in naira. Maybe it won't go down safe and I'll lose value. So that's why. You are correct. Also, what do we do about it? Especially in carrying states along and in dealing with this communication challenge. Because the communication challenge that led people to go and withdraw money and keep in their house in the first instance. Good. So, sir, the first thing is that there are some things that you cannot fight. You have to wait for it to play out. We have tried to engage the press. Each time we call a press conference, we say one thing, the press reports something else. The people that we want to, and then they will now call us behind and say, you see, the normal thing is that you engage consultants and, you know, to push your case, bloggers. And unfortunately, the chairman that we have, Taiwo Idele, I don't know who have seen him. Taiwo Idele will not pay shishi to any consultants, bloggers, nothing. This is what we have done for Nigeria, for Nigerians, and we'll keep saying it. That's why I said some things need to play out. So when the rumor went in in November about the capital gains tax and the market collapsed, people panicked all the way to Aso Rock. Now, what is going on here? You people, you want to scatter this? Say no, we will explain to them. And then because a lot of them were educated, you know, capital market people. So we explained and then they understood and they're like, what we are reading from bloggers is a different thing. And like I said, what has happened? The market has bounced back. There was one I saw, one girl came on the internet, TikTok, somebody sent to me, and he was telling me authoritatively that from 1st of January, they were going to take money from account, they were going to take this, Nigerian government is this, and that. Let me tell you, better go and withdraw your money, this and that. She was so convincing that me, part of the team that wrote the tax law, I had to go and read it again. Maybe we misinterpreted it. You know, sometimes you can write something, and then by the time people are interpreting what you wrote for you, you're like, I didn't mean it like that. But the interpretation is clear. I had to go and read it again. I saw that this person is lying. You know, the last one, this latest one, you know, Mr. Oedele spoke I'm sure you've seen the video 2 days ago, how he was frustrated about the House of Assembly didn't release. I saw a video this morning. Somebody said, Oedele said they have suspended the implementation of the tax laws. Yes, okay, you open your mouth. I have the video on my phone. I can send it to you so you can share it. And he was speaking authoritatively. And he was now saying, so all my money that they've taken, will the bank pay me back? Because they've charged me. If they have suspended the law, then there's no basis for charging me. They've been charging me since January 4th, then they must pay me back all my money. I was like, where did he say that? So he said there are regulations that we want to bring out to complement the laws. But we want to see the final law so we can write the supporting regulation properly. He did not say they've suspended the law, but bloggers have gone out. Okay, sir, how do you counter that? Because there are some people who want to drive traffic to their websites. And the only thing that drives traffic is negative news. So there's nothing you will say. They must look for a way to turn it into a negative way so it can be attention grabbing and not drive traffic to their sites. In fact, sir, the more you talk now, the more you get into trouble. Whatever you say today, they will twist it for the new headlines tomorrow. Sometimes you read some stories, the headline is completely different from the body of the story. So, but we keep trying our best. On the issue of money will go from our account, we decided at the committee, let us wait. When people see that money did not leave their account, maybe they will, and that's exactly what happened. Because 1st of January, somebody called me on the 5th of January and said, Tolu, how far? You people have not started taking this money. As the implementation not started, I said, take which money? They said, you take money. So I'm still waiting now. I want to see so that I know how far, how much you want to take. We're not taking any money. Oh, you get real. Why you say we all know they are going to take money now? This is an educated person, the MD CEO of an insurance company. ACA, ICANN, CITN. Yes, studied in England. Yes, sir. He said, just take the bullet. I just want to know so I can plan my life. I want to plan. I want to communicate to my staff. So we do our best, sir. That's all I can say. But for the mischief makers, there's nothing you will do that will stop them. I don't want to go into the politicians who are, that's another kettle of fish. Because you cannot contest election against somebody unless you say the person is not doing well. So it means from your camp, that person must never do anything well. Because if you are that is doing well, then why are you contesting against him? So automatically, because you want to contest against somebody, that person must not be doing, to give you a reason that you want to contest. So that's another dimension. But you can say I've not mentioned that at all. So let's park that on one side. So we try our best. Madam.
Thank you. It's on the, a quick word on the withholding tax that Mrs. Akirimade mentioned. Withholding tax has always been on fixed deposits, even before this new tax law.
Absolutely, ma'am.
And I know
Absolutely.
some professors who fix their gratuity. And to be honest, it's not the monthly payments they're fixing.
Okay.
It's usually the bulk sum that the PFAs pay them.
Oh, okay,
So they
okay,
fix
okay,
that,
okay,
and
okay.
they're getting something on it.
Back.
But the
okay.
something they're getting, withholding tax is being taken
Yes.
every payment,
Yes.
every interest payment.
Yes, every
you get.
interest payment. Yes, yes.
So that is
Okay, okay.
it's nothing new.
Okay.
But my quick question is, for those who are in government work, they don't need to file tax returns because that has already been done by the government. It's individuals and private businesses that you're talking about, isn't it?
No, ma'am. You still need to file.
Oh, everybody.
Everybody. And the reason is simple. Our politicians, House of Assembly members, commissioners, all of them, they get paid salaries. Even civil servants. But we all know they have a lot of houses that they've rented. They have a lot of businesses. So when you challenge them, they will give you the tax clearance from their payee, their salary. And say, maybe you have cleared me tax clearance. What are you asking me tax again? But we know you have 4 houses that you are collecting rent. So they escape payment of taxes on those other incomes. Their office will just pay their payee and process their tax clearance from the office. And then once they get that, they say, I've fulfilled all righteousness. But we said, no. How about your other income? A bank MD, let me go to the banks. MD, EDs, they will collect salaries. They are doing a lot of businesses out there in Lagos, Ikoyi, building houses, doing structures, and they are not paying money on those income. But they will tell the accountant in the office, you know, when MD tells you, financial control, go and process my TCC. You know, they process everything, and then MD, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. The MD will say, yes, I paid my tax. But has he paid his tax? He has not. So what we did was to close that loophole. To say, your office can still process it for you. But you must tell your office if you have other sources of income or not. That's all we want.
Thank you very much, sir. Because of time, let me just say this. Number one, I want to, on behalf of the leadership of the church, thank you very much for bringing clarity to the issues on ground. So you can go and have your seat. Thank you very much. The slides, we'll post these slides on our platforms so that you can go back, check, and if you still have anything to clarify, we will compile those questions together and we'll send to Dr. Adegbe. I'm sure that he will oblige us with answers. Number two, let me also remind us, for those of us who have small businesses, get a tax consultant. You have been told that with 10,000, 5,000, that can be done. And the accountant in our midst, somebody has already opened a business venture for you. So you can, Dr. Tolu is not charging you for that. And so we can be our brother's keeper. And finally, I want to encourage us, because this is very important, to be careful with what you repost, the things that people send to your WhatsApp platform, and then because you think it is true, and then you repost without knowing, you'll be playing some people's game. And let us be careful, verify. The Bible says, so let's do that. And like he said, finally, let's pray that when this money finally comes, it will be used for the good of all of us. And he says something very, very important. Don't join those who will say from now, don't mind them, government, they will chop all the money. Your word is very important. And we're going to pray. We're going to ask that God will ensure that these monies will not be mismanaged, will not be embezzled. God himself will ensure that it will become a relief for all of us in the name of Jesus Christ. So I want to ask Daddy Biology to please come and pray for Dr. Tolu. Let's clap for the Lord as our emeritus pastor comes to pray for Dr. Tolu. I'm sure that it is a fund that Baba ran away from, but it's okay.